The story begins where Michael stood in an open field, admiring the shifting colors of the sky. Suddenly, he heard a sharp cry in the distance and flinched, his heart racing. Then he woke. It had only been a dream. That night, he returned to the trading house where he had worked for the past 3 months. In that time, he had learned every corner of the building, where each guard stood watch, the habits of every worker, the routines of the wealthy merchants who came to do business there. He had earned everyone's trust. He had even begun assisting important clients directly, overhearing their private conversations. When his shift ended, Michael wiped away the disguise he wore for work. Underneath, he looked like an entirely different man. In truth, he was investigating the trading house on behalf of families who had been cheated out of their inheritances by its owner. For 3 months, he had quietly gathered evidence, ledgers, hidden records, proof of fraud, and now he was ready to recover what had been stolen. Wearing a new identity, he slipped into the building at night and used a small device to unlock a storage room where false account books were kept. He moved carefully past a night watchman, sliding a real ledger into his bag and leaving a decoy in its place. He made his way toward the private office of a merchant named Alex, who was known to keep records for the owner. When an employee carrying documents came around the corner, Michael, posing as a guest, said calmly, "I was told to wait here for the manager." The employee, flustered, replied, "Of course, sir. Let me find him for you," and hurried off. Michael used the moment to slip into the office and search through the files, quickly finding what he needed and restoring everything as it had been. Inside, he found Alex already present. The two exchanged a long, careful conversation about the ledgers, each testing what the other knew. Michael revealed just enough to gain Alex's interest, hoping to draw out more information about the wider fraud. But before he could press further, a commotion broke out. Guards had noticed the missing ledger. In the confusion, a courier grabbed Michael's satchel and fled.
Michael chased him through the corridors, certain the man had taken his evidence, only to find the satchel empty when he finally caught up. The man's face, in the lamplight, wasn't even the courier he'd been chasing. Someone had switched places with him in the dark. Before Michael could make sense of it, guards seized him from behind, while Alex slipped quietly away. Michael was bound and taken to a back room, where a guard struck him. The owner of the trading house, a hard man named Victor, arrived demanding to know what had happened to his records. Michael tried to reason with him, insisting he was simply a guest who had wandered into the wrong hallway. Victor didn't believe a word of it and gave him a week to return what was missing or face serious consequences.
Michael then traveled to a small outpost at the edge of the desert, where an old friend named Leon ran a modest inn. Leon's men stopped him at the gate, but Leon recognized him and waved him through. Over tea, Michael told him everything that had happened. Leon, in turn, told him something stranger still, that there were people in the world with extraordinary gifts, quiet abilities passed down or discovered by chance, who could reach into another realm of thought and memory, and through it affect the waking world. He showed Michael an old book filled with names and drawings of such people. Michael laughed it off as a tale meant to pass the evening, but Leon insisted every word of it was true. He had seen such things with his own eyes. Meanwhile, Alex met privately with a man named Gordon, delivering him the records Michael had been chasing. Gordon asked whether he too might learn to enter that other realm, but Alex refused, saying he trusted him too much as a partner to risk him getting lost there. Back at the inn, Michael pressed Leon further, and a plan began to take shape in his mind. If such gifted people truly existed, he could gather them and build something greater than what he'd been doing alone, a team capable of righting the wrongs done to those families for good. He found Eric first, a wealthy but restless man who could move objects with his mind alone, though he had little interest in using his gift for anyone's benefit but his own. After some convincing, Eric agreed to join. Next came Tony, a driver with an uncanny ability to control machinery and electronics from a distance. Finally, Michael sought out Kevin, a gentleman with the power to place illusions so convincing that people could not tell them from reality. Kevin had been kept in a quiet retreat where caretakers used his gift, with his consent, to help ease the suffering of troubled patients. Michael told him he was wasting a rare talent behind those walls, and Kevin, curious about the wider world, chose to leave with him. The team began to train together, learning to use their gifts in coordination. In the hidden realm that connected them, Eric could move great weights with a gesture.
Kevin could shape entire illusions from ice and light, and around Tony, a storm of energy gathered, its currents linking to whatever machine he touched in the waking world. Their first trial run, held quietly at Leon's outpost, went poorly. Kevin lost control of an illusion and startled a worker. Tony's focus slipped, and he shorted out a row of lanterns instead of the intended lock, and the whole plan nearly unraveled before Michael stepped in to calm things down. It was clear they needed a better way to communicate mid-operation. Soon after, Michael attended a gathering where a man was in obvious distress, being pursued by several strangers. Michael intervened, helping the man escape, and later learning his name was Rashid, a person who could hear the thoughts of others as clearly as spoken words. Rashid was wary of joining any plan, having been hunted for his gift before, but Michael's sincerity eventually won him over. With Rashid able to silently relay instructions to the whole team, everything changed. During practice, Michael would picture an action, a bell rung, a warning shouted, a light extinguished, and Rashid would pass the thought directly to whichever team member needed to act, and it would unfold exactly as imagined. Meanwhile, acting on Alex's guidance, Gordon began his own training in that same hidden realm, discovering he could reach into people's minds and direct their actions while they remained unaware. Using this gift, he manipulated a skilled painter into producing a flawless copy of a valuable old work of art, then guided a museum caretaker into swapping the original for the copy during a routine transfer. When Gordon released his hold, neither man remembered anything unusual, and Gordon walked away having purchased the real painting from the confused artist for almost nothing. With his team assembled and trained, Michael laid out the full plan. They would slip into the trading house separately, each at a different hour, to recover the true ledgers and free the records of every family Victor had defrauded. Only Rashid would accompany him openly, posing as his associate. 2 days later, they made their move. Tony took control of the surveillance systems from within. Eric quietly created distractions to draw guards away from key hallways, and Kevin's illusions kept watchful eyes looking the wrong direction. For a while, everything proceeded exactly as planned. Then Eric, growing impatient with the slow pace, began acting on his own instead of waiting for Rashid's guidance, drawing unwanted attention. Tony, rattled by the shift, began controlling too many systems at once, and the strange pattern of malfunctions caught a guard's notice. Both men were seized and marched toward the front hall, only to find the rest of the team already waiting. Kevin calmly turned the guards' attention elsewhere long enough for the group to speak privately and regroup. Michael reminded them sharply how much was at stake, and how easily the whole plan could fall apart if they stopped trusting one another. Chastened, the team agreed to follow his lead completely from that point on. Together, with Kevin managing the last guard, and Eric quietly clearing their path, they reached the vault and recovered the true ledgers at last. Afterward, the team gathered at a quiet shore to rest, grateful the ordeal was over. Michael sat apart from the others for a while, turning over everything that had happened. He thought of how far they had come, a group of strangers with strange gifts, drawn together by chance and a shared sense of what was right. Not far away, Alex shared a quiet meal with Gordon, telling him that his own training would have to be set aside for now. "Unless you find someone you trust completely," Alex said, "there's too much risk of being caught." When Gordon asked after Michael, Alex explained that Michael had built a team of his own. The news troubled Gordon deeply, and he resolved to act. The next morning, as the team traveled together, 2 vehicles closed in and forced them to a stop in the middle of the road. Victor stepped out with several of his men and had the group bound. "We can return everything," Michael told him. "Just let the others go." Victor studied him for a long moment. "It isn't the ledgers I want anymore," he said. "It's what your friends can do."
Michael, having no gift of his own to offer, was pulled aside and taken away, and the rest of the team, terrified by what they believed had happened to him, retreated into themselves, unaware the whole scene had been staged. Michael was brought instead to Gordon, who revealed something Michael had never expected. Gordon was his father. He explained that he had orchestrated everything from a distance, watching his son's path from afar. "You turned away from me for 10 years, Gordon said quietly. "This was the only way I knew to bring you back. Do you remember the door we used to dream about together when you were small? I've since learned how to truly find it."
In the days that followed, Eric, Tony, and Kevin were made to work under Victor, their gifts put to use against their will for his benefit. One evening, Tony discovered a familiar face disguised as a repairman in his quarters.
It was Michael. Tony immediately noticed Rashid was missing. The others explained that Rashid had refused to work for Victor and, shaken by what he believed was Michael's death, had fallen into a deep, unwaking sleep, unable to find his way back from the hidden realm. That night, the team quietly turned on Victor, refusing to work for him any longer, and locked him away under new guard, a guard who was, once again, Michael in disguise. He freed everyone and laid out an escape. Kevin persuaded a guard to unlock a secure passage.
Michael disabled the lower elevator to slow any pursuit. Ahead lay a corridor lined with sensitive alarms. While the others worked to clear a path through it, Michael went alone to find Rashid, having already worked out exactly where he was being kept. He found him and carried him gently from the room. Tony managed to disable most of the alarms, though not all, leaving Eric to carefully thread the remaining gaps and reach the vault, where his strength finally forced it open. The alarm sounded regardless, and guards rushed the corridor. But with the passage sealed behind them and the elevator disabled, the team had bought themselves time. Still, the plan wasn't complete. Rashid remained deep in the hidden realm, and only Michael could go after him.
Everyone warned him of the danger. Without a gift of his own, he might not return. He chose to go anyway. Kevin guided him gently into that other world. Michael found himself in a vast, quiet expanse, fragments of memory drifting around him, his mother, the mistakes of his past, the long road that had brought him here. Through it all, he heard Rashid's voice, calling him selfish for the risks he'd taken. A door appeared before him, and beyond it lay a great field scattered with countless other doors beneath a sky of shifting color. A storm gathered on the horizon, and Michael sheltered behind one of the doors as it rolled through, nearly overwhelming him, until, with a steady hand raised skyward, he willed it to still.
The field grew calm, and as he sat with Rashid's memory in mind, the ground shifted and rose into the shape of a city. Climbing a long staircase, he found Rashid at last, standing quietly, watching the colored sky. But a barrier surrounded him that Michael could not cross. He called out, and though Rashid could not be reached at first, the barrier eventually let his voice through. Rashid admitted he didn't want to return. He believed no one in the waking world was truly waiting for him. Michael told him he was alive and had come back for him. Rashid didn't believe it until Michael reminded him of the day they'd first met, running together toward a rooftop, where he had told him, "Whether you have someone or not, I will always be there."
At last, Rashid reached for his hand, and together they returned to the field of doors, where he chose to walk back into the waking world. Because it was Michael's first time crossing that realm alone, he had to find his own way home. As he searched, memory surfaced of Gordon teaching him everything he knew about that hidden place, hoping his son would one day stand beside him as a partner in it. Gordon had once given him a small compass in a promise of help if he ever needed it. In the present, Michael spotted Alex passing through one of the doors and followed him, the surroundings shifting into the familiar halls of the trading house. Walking in Alex's footsteps, he came to understand something crucial: how to reach into another person's thoughts, just as Gordon had. Michael woke inside the vault and told the others it was time to leave. Tony released the final lock, and to their surprise, the corridor beyond stood completely empty. While Michael had been away in the hidden realm, he had reached into Victor's mind and convinced him the team had already escaped with everything they'd come for. Victor had sent every guard rushing out to search the grounds, leaving the path clear. With that, the team walked out together, the true ledgers in hand, free at last.